I'm the youngest sister of our John Kirby, but John only really ever called me Elle, or kid. I would like to take the time to welcome everyone to this celebration to honor the extraordinary life of Jonathan Michael Kirby. Thank you all for being here. You are family, friends, loved ones, mentors, cast members, classmates, co-workers, and acquaintances of John. My family and I cannot even begin to describe what it means to have you all here today. We are eternally grateful for the support you all have shown Maddie and our family in the past 6 months. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you. I've been thinking for a while about what I could possibly say, and I knew that nothing I could possibly say would ever perfectly encapsulate our John. But for him, I'm going to try my best. When I actually sat down to write this, I asked myself, what would John want me to say? I figured he would want me to speak from the heart and talk about the things that he loved most: his family, his music, and Maddie. For those of you who knew John, you know that family was one of the most important things in the world to him. When our parents were out of the house, John and my sisters would spend time together, and we called it Kids Night, where we would make homemade pizza and popcorn, and then we'd rearrange the living room. And it would sometimes be, we'd adjust the couch and spread out a variety of blankets and pillows. And it would sometimes be a game night, sometimes it'd be playing in our pool past sunset and past our bedtimes, or watching Hannah Montana or a Disney movie. John loved watching the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and he loved watching them with us. And in his excitement, he showed them to me at age 4, despite their PG-13 ratings. Sometimes our movie nights would include our close friends, and usually some sort of shenanigans would occur, usually almost setting the kitchen on fire due to cooking fails, or almost setting the backyard on fire due to fire pit fails. Those evenings in my childhood that I spent with John, my sisters, and our friends are some of my fondest memories growing up. John was always there for us sisters, no matter what, for so many big and small moments in our lives. He was always ready to give us hugs, a pep talk, or make self-deprecating jokes at his expense to make us feel better. There are so many stories and memories I would like to tell, and I can't fit all of our funny sibling moments and inside jokes into one speech. I know that my sisters and I will spend the rest of our lives remembering and telling all of our stories about him and about all the times he made us laugh until we cried, forever. John was so proud of us and our accomplishments, and his support was unwavering. I knew that my big brother had my back, and if he loved me, I knew that I could do anything. John loved spending time with our dad. When they were both home when I was growing up, you could usually find them out in the yard together, mowing the lawn, fixing the backyard, and when they were not bonding over their shared knowledge of how to properly mulch your yard, Dad and John were volunteering and helping out the community. John always looked up to our dad so much. Dad was his role model, and we knew that if we ever needed anything, whether it was a hug or having to entirely fix our college financial situations, Dad was going to be there for us. And so that was the kind of person that John was too. He was always there to help anyone with anything at any time. John also loved spending time with our Grammy and seeing our aunts and uncles and cousins whenever he could. He never tired of hearing Grammy stories and humor, or getting a call from Aunt Pat, or going golfing with Uncle Mike, or hanging out with Dave and Trav at Chili's. But by far, though, his most favorite family member has been Vinny. John has been the best uncle to our little guy. He was one of the first people to meet Vinny at the hospital when he was born, and John was incredibly proud of the fact that he sang Vinny's first lullaby, and he proceeded to tell me and Carrie and Dad about it for a while. John and Vinny also bonded over their shared love of trucks and trains as Vinny got older. John once filmed a video on his phone of a construction site near his apartment at the time, and when John showed Vinny the video, it for some reason held Vinny so captivated that they proceeded to watch the video of a dump truck 75 more times. For those of you who know, Vinny loved watching the video and began to call John Uncle Dump Truck. This, as you can imagine, became quite a funny joke in our family. Can't imagine why. But John took so much pride in his bestowed name Uncle John again, but it didn't really matter to John what came after the uncle part, because it was the uncle part that mattered the most to him. This past summer, we took a siblings trip to Ocean View, Delaware. John, Chris, Chrissy, Vinny, David, Carrie, and I rented an Airbnb and proceeded to spend a long weekend together spending time as a family. We took turns cooking and doing the dishes, and we spent 2 of the days we were there at the beach, or should I say getting sunburned at the beach. When packing our cooler for the beach one morning, John spiked an entire jug of Snapple iced tea, and then we brought it to the beach with us, where we continued to have a great beach day and get even more sun. At the end of the beach day, though, we sat down on the dining room table and played board games, just like our kid days from so long ago. But now that we're older, things had become more competitive than our usual childhood Monopoly nights. We had so many laughs that weekend, including the final night, where John proceeded to kill 2 spiders. One at the ice cream place we went to, and the other in the mudroom of our Airbnb that scared the daylights out of Chrissy, that had her retreating to the living room. On the last day, the morning of checkout, John and I worked our way through the house to make sure the house was in a complete mess and that we hadn't forgotten anything. We loaded our stuff in the car, and I gave him a huge hug that lasted longer than it usually did, because I was not going to see him again before he moved to San Francisco the next month. I'm so glad that I took the time that day to hug him a little bit longer and a little bit tighter, and I will treasure that trip, as I know the rest of us will, for the rest of our lives and in our hearts for the rest of our lives as well. John loved music. What? Really? We all know that. It was who John was. His life was music. He breathed it, he talked it, he walked it, he wrote it, he played it, he sang it, he taught it. His life was music. John is a genius. He really, really was. It feels like one day it all just sort of clicked for him. We had a piano in the house, and when John learned to play, the house was rarely quiet. A tune was always being played in our dining room, and there were so many times that I would sit with him in the dining room and color at the table while he muscled his way through whatever song he was playing. Music became his passion and his dream. John wanted to score movies, and every day he got better and better and closer to achieving that dream. Our whole family loved his talent, and we always tried to encourage him wherever we could. The amazing thing is that John always encouraged us as well to pursue our dreams, whatever they were, no matter how crazy they were. John was always pushing me to explore my art and to try out new art methods. We went to art museums, we looked at art books together our whole lives, and we bonded over our shared love of the arts. When he talked about his music, he was always so passionate and expressive that even though we didn't hear the music like John did, we felt it. John would sit there and explain a piece of music that he wrote, and for hours and hours and hours, if we didn't stop him. With new pieces of music that John wrote, whether it be a piece of music for my sister's weddings, a new musical for Matt Jason's stage, or just a piece that he wrote for fun, sometimes he would send it to me first, and he would ask my opinion. Elle, is there anything about this that's I need to fix? Does something sound off? And then I'd say, I usually have to inform him that I was not a music major, and I did not hear things the way he did, and that whatever he showed me sounded beautiful. I know that we're going to miss hearing all of his wonderful music, but I know that wherever he is, he's conducting the most beautiful concerts that anyone has ever heard, and I know that they are better than we can ever imagine. I remember when John told us that he was seeing someone. God, her name is Maddie, and she's really pretty, and I like her. I loved meeting Maddie, and after a while, I noticed that John wasn't looking at Dad or at me when he was talking with us because he was looking at her. That's when I knew it. She was staying around for a while, and we're so glad I'm back. John called me, Chrissy, and Karen on FaceTime one night, and he told us that he was looking at engagement rings, and I think we all cheered in different levels of on FaceTime. John asked me to stand with him as one of his group's people, and I could not have been more honored. The night before the wedding, John had to make a trip to Maddie's mom's house to grab some things, and with me being 18 and the only sober person there, I'm not exhausted, I volunteered to drive him there and back. On the way back to Mrs. Belknap's house, John read his doubts because he wanted to see if they were good, and he wanted to see if they were too long. And I was like, Okay. He read them to me and I cried, and my heart was so full knowing that my brother had found the person he was going to love for the rest of his life. The wedding was perfect, and I'm so glad that our families were able to be there for them and witness that special day. John called me a couple weeks after he and Maddie moved out to San Francisco and told me all about their hikes through the national parks, and he could not stop smiling. I am so happy that he was able to have that adventure with Maddie before he passed, and there was never a moment that John didn't love Maddie with his whole heart. I know that there will not be a time when I do not hear Piano Man by Billy Joel and I do not think of him. I know that I will not be able to look at mountains and not think of the ones that John and Maddie climbed. I know that I will not be able to drink ginger beer without thinking of how much John loved sun on a nice hot summer day. I will not be able to look at a church organ without thinking of the way John always played toccata in D minor, test out every organ he played. John was the best of us. He was the most alive person I've ever known. He was hungry for the life, and he traveled everywhere, and he did everything. I would not be the person I am today without my big brother. He was the happiest and most dedicated family member, and I will never, ever regret the moments that I had with him on this earth. He was the best big brother that I could ever ask for. I could have ever hoped or asked for, and it's been the biggest honor of my life to be his little sister. He will forever be my hero, and the strongest and most passionate person I have ever known. Thank you, John. I love you, and this is for you. In John Kirby's notes app, he had a list of his favorite. Is that me? Sorry. Okay. In John's notes app, he had a list of his favorite things, and at the top of that list was making music with friends. Our first ensemble of people is full of musicians who knew John as a conductor and ensemble leader who loved John, who John loved also to call his friends. Please welcome our chamber choir.